Hey, it's Monday, the start of another week, sort of a busy week, but I think all weeks are a little busy in their own way. Um, did some more reading and watching this weekend, and it's as if the information superhighway has made its way to my brain and is opening up new pathways and opportunities for new ideas to sink in and become what they are. And I don't know if it was yesterday or the day before, but I was watching a talk, workshop, presentation, something, um, and one of the themes that was in there was this idea of becoming unbound and what it means for women to be bound. And for me, words that come to mind when women are bound are things like no voice, quiet, um, secondary, powerless, um, insignificant, tokens of economy, property, um, the weaker sex, things like that, broken. Um, yeah. And then I started asking myself the question, like, what does it mean to be unbound? What does it look like to be a woman? What does it look like for me to be a woman unbound? And I sort of let my heart and my mind go a little crazy, but then I thought, is this really crazy or is this true to some extent? And the word that came, or words that came to my mind when I thought of Holly Unbound, how would I describe that of myself? And the words that came to mind of Holly Unbound were words like bold, fierce, fearless, beautiful, um, intrepid, daring, an adventurer, wanderlust, um, strong, articulate, intuitive, an empath, and so many other words that um, are in that same vein, that are words that I don't know that I would necessarily speak out loud to describe myself. And yet here I am writing this list that gets to be like a dozen words long or so. And I'm thinking, you've got to stop writing. Like, this isn't true. This isn't you. Um, this isn't depictive of you or descriptive of you. But as I looked at the list, it's like, if I'm really being honest in my heart of hearts, it is. It is who I am. And then I had to ask myself, what does it take for Holly Unbound to show up? And how can she show up consistently in my life? And it's a little strange to talk about myself in the third person, but at the same time, Holly Unbound is a person that I'm still trying to discover, that I'm still trying to name and define. And so I think for now, Holly Unbound is is going to be the third person reference that I um, talk about right now. And sometimes Holly Unbound comes pretty naturally. Like, I can be a badass and I can stand up for what I believe in, and everyone be damned that tries to get in my way. Like, one of the things that people have always known before, that I've always known myself for, is this idea is that I don't take no for an answer. I may get a no at first, but I'm gonna find a way to get what I want or what I need in certain things, right? Like, things where it involves business, things where it involves intellectual or professional pursuits, like, get out of my way. Like, that's that's my wheelhouse, right? Like, don't throw any messes in my wheelhouse. Don't throw any wrenches or whatever you wanna say into my wheelhouse. Like, that's where I'm comfortable. I'm comfortable living between my ears because that's where I've gotten today, right? Like, professionally, personally, academically, like, my big, fat, beautiful, sexy brain is is where I reside most of the time. And looking to my heart, which I think is where Holly Unbound lives, it's a little scary. It's very scary. And there are times that Holly Unbound will come out and just sort of be like, "Who rules the world? Girls!" And today's International Women's Day, so I think this is maybe what's prompting or driving this little journal entry. And so, what does it take to be Holly Unbound more often? Well, right now, Holly Unbound is infrequent, and we don't know when the hell Holly Unbound is gonna come out and be her fierce, badass self. And so then the question becomes, well, what the fuck do we do when Holly Unbound comes out? And as I answer or think about that question, I want to say I embrace her. I let her go wild and free. I try to channel that energy as long as I can and do whatever I can while she's there. And I hate when the self-doubt and the fear creeps in and Holly Unbound goes back into hiding again, or sits quiet, or is a good girl and does what she's supposed to, and what the social constructs of what it means to be a good girl is, and what it's become for way too many women in our society. And, I think absolutely that pretty damn fortunate to have been born when I was, because so many things have improved since 1972. I did a little Googling. It's just like, what's happened for women since 1972? And it's fascinating, like what has come about. And some of the things are like Roe v. Wade happened, Title IX happened, um, Sally Ride was the first woman in space. Um, Hillary Clinton received the first presidential nomination from the Democratic National Party. Kamala Harris is now the black, first female vice president of the United States, and her color had nothing to do with it. It's because of who she is. And stepping into Kamala Unbound, I'm quite certain. Like, I have a children's book that I bought for my daughters. Um, the day of inauguration about who Kamala Harris was, and I love it. I love it. It just there are points in her life where you know that she was completely unbound and just took life by the horns and went for it. And I really appreciate that, and I really appreciate the example that she's setting for my daughters. Um, what else happened for women since 1972? 1972, Gloria Steinem, um, her first episode of Ms. magazine debuted. Um, Stuff like that, like stuff that still endures to this day for women. And um, Clinton signed, uh, Bill Clinton signed the Violence Against Women Act. Things like that have improved for my generation, for my daughters going forward. Um, I hope that things get much, much better for women of this country and women of the world. And, I hope my girls are part of that movement, are part of the reason and the change that happens for good in the world. And that just excites and thrills me at the same time. Um, what else? There's something happening in my heart and in my mind that I'm really having this struggle with the paradigm of what I want, what I should do, and what will I do. And Holly Unbound wants to do something totally different than Holly thinks she can do right now. And the inner turmoil that that's causing with me is just a struggle. And I don't really know what to do with it. I don't know how or where to process it. I think maybe I need to do some more journaling. I do need to do more thinking. It's complex. Sometimes the decisions for what it is and what I want to do are far different. And so moving through those, what I want to do, what I should do, what I can do, and what I will do are easy, right? You just kind of go, well, what do I want to do? This is what I will do. And I don't have to go through the angst of the other 2 or 3 more steps. But it's the emotional stickiness of making decisions with matters of the heart that sort of pull that closet door a little more closed, a little. It's going back into hiding, not knowing where I should go. I have a tattoo on my body that says trust your rebel heart. That's one of the things that I've said my whole life is that when I trust my gut, I don't go wrong. I I I'm led in the ways and in the directions that I should be. People are brought into my life. Um, Things happen for a reason in a lot of cases, I think. And so the trust your rebel heart on my body is sort of this reminder that perhaps I don't need those interim steps of what I want to do to what I will do. If I can convince myself to follow my heart. But maybe the convincing piece is what needs to go away, and just following my heart is what needs to stay. I'm at like 12 minutes into this little thing right now. I think I'm gonna, well, I need to go to work, so I think I'm gonna sign off for now, but I'll just say this, Holly Unbound, it's okay to come out. It's okay.